Peace, people. Welcome to the latest episode of The Rough Draft. I am your host, Kevin Alberto Savio, and in this episode of The Rough Draft, I'll be talking about my 10th book release, The Chronicles of the Black Fist, F.U.R.I the People. As I am shooting this, it is about July 30th. Um, we've reached a record. About 150,000 people have actually passed from the COVID-19 virus. And it's a sad state of affairs. Certain states are starting to close down after they were just beginning to reopen, but because of the surging cases and people dying, everything is kind of starting to grind to a halt. We're just in some really trying times, especially just like with a lot of the shootings done by the police against black people, other people of color. It's kind of getting crazy out there. And having said that, that kind of leads into what this episode is supposed to be about. The Chronicles of the Black Fist, F.U.R.I the People. It's actually the second book in the Black Fist book series. I published this book in 2019, and it takes place 4 years after the first story ended. For those of you who don't know, I talked about this a little bit in episode number 4, when I was actually talking about the book, the first book, The Chronicles of the Black Fist. It's based on my character named Nyerere Lewis, also known as the Black Fist, and basically how he started his career as a crime fighter. So now that it's 4 years later, the story's been expanded somewhat. Obviously it focuses on the adventures of Nyerere as the Black Fist, his partnership with detective Amira Umi. They have actually been able to work together, and they've actually formed their own underground, which is F.U.R.I, F-U-R-I, which stands for Freedmen's Underground Revolutionary Initiative. So they'd actually ended up creating that underground, and it's a way for him to gain intelligence. It's a way for him to gain access to certain weapons and whatnot. He even has a vehicle that he uses. Um, he's able to just communicate with a lot of other people and be able to fight back against characters like Ignorance and Joseph Brutus, aka Brutality. Things have changed a little bit. For those who were actually reading the book, A. Simi is now the mayor of the city. His administration came in, and he's got a lot of people bamboozled. Say that he just has a nicer, kinder face on their oppression, and people don't seem to get it. But now that a lot of things are happening. I mean, gentrification of the community. A lot of things are happening with just issues of police brutality, lack of resources for the community. And so it's just like it's some very trying times. And in this situation, well, in this book, I should say, I actually also ended up adding a number of different characters on both sides, not just the criminal element, but also people who helped Nyerere in his struggle. There's one of the things that he learned when he decided to build F.U.R.I with Detective Umi was the fact that as an activist, you can't do stuff all by yourself. You say a movement is not one man. So he actually decides to move forward with what he's doing and reach out to other people and use them as means to gain intelligence, but also to help him in his struggle, say, to fight against the powers that be. And in this particular book, he teams up with a number of different people. He has what we call infiltrators, or basically they're spies. So a lot of that is done through the help of Amira Umi. Um, there is abolitionist. She's a detective, white lady. Say that she's a sympathizer and also is an infiltrator. So she helps them with gathering intelligence. There's John Harper Brown. He was actually in the first book. He was a patrolman, but now he's actually been promoted to detective, and Amira was able to recruit him to be an infiltrator and a sympathizer as well. So they help out with the intelligence gathering. He also ends up fighting with a few revolutionary associates or unofficial partners. One is Sekhmet Basset, and she actually is a major player major character, I should say, in this particular book. Because you don't really know what side she's fighting on. Is she a criminal? Is she a hero? Because she's a little bit extreme in a lot of what she does. I mean, in the first chapter of the book, if you actually got a chance to read it, she ends up brutally killing a number of people. She actually is able to infiltrate this meeting by a bunch of Afrikaners. They're plotting an overthrow of the South African government, and she pretty much ends up slaughtering every last man. So you kind of see a balance as far as like, do we need to be extreme or do we have to be more? I don't want to say politically correct, but more nonviolent with our approach to fighting against the powers that be. And so that's kind of a theme in the first half of the book, where you say he's kind of got to make that decision. He's like, well, we have a history of our leaders being taken out and being murdered by, you say, by the powers that be and those who work for them. You're saying they're neo-colonialist supporters. So maybe we should start being a little bit more extreme ourselves. So it kind of gets to a point of, okay, where does that line get drawn? And so he is initially kind of drawn to segment by set, but then in his opinion, she kind of starts crossing the line. And he's like, wait a minute, what type of man do I want to be? What type of a warrior do I want to be? You know, say what type of a fighter do I really want to be in this struggle? You know, say, do I just want to start eliminating people no matter how minuscule or minute their infraction might be against our community, or do I really want to like just go after the big guns? And that's what I think makes this the story very interesting. Um, like I said, Asim is now mayor, so he and his administration are doing a whole bunch of like really crazy things. So he's got what Edwina Ucation, Miss Eddie, as she's known, Miss Eddie Ucation. She's his school chancellor. Obviously, ignorance is the powers, one of the main influencing powers behind all of this. So he's still active in it. He's hooked up with his one of his people's Raymundo racism and his brother Sexton sexism. You know, saying they're continuing to wreak havoc in the city and beyond. Um, who else? Oh, Joseph Brutus, aka Brutality. He is no longer the police commissioner. He actually now works for Ignorance. And so, for anybody who read book one, there's this character, Overton O.V. Sear. He is now the police commissioner. He works for ASIMI as his police commissioner. So, that's kind of interesting. You know, ASIMI's administration, he had DA, uh, Gatelin, gatekeeper. She's his district attorney. So, say whatever legal maneuverings that he wants to do, she's his attack dog. She takes over after Wyatt Privilege. Wyatt Privilege is now the state attorney general. He got promoted because Wyatt's supremacy is no longer a congressman. He is now governor of the state that they live in, even though I've never given their state a name. And he needed his own legal attack dog. So Wyatt Privilege, because he's privileged as he is, he was promoted to that position. Um, so yeah, there have been a number of characters that I've added into this one. And it gets a lot of symbolism, metaphor, you see a lot of intrigue. And I think it's very thought provoking. Also, as far as other characters that I've added into this particular book, Inferior to People, I gave him a few more revolutionary associates other than segment by set. Um, there's a crew. I talked about this character a little bit, I believe, in episode 14. So, the Hood Rat. I added him. He was originally in my short story anthology, Drum Speaking. That's where I first introduced him to my literary world. I added him into the Black Fist universe. And so it is not just the Hood Rat who I added as a crime fighter. I also added his crew, the Concrete Jungle Zoo crew, you know, CJMZ, I think. But you say they're a bunch of young people. Um, It's Road Dog. It is Alley Cat, Squirrel, obviously, with her rat involved, and there's also the Project Pigeon and the Stinger. So they were actually formerly a graffiti crew, graffiti tag crew, and they end up becoming inspired, I should say, to become crime fighters. Um, and so a lot of times they go around, they protect the community. You're saying they take down like drug dealers and gun runners and other criminals, and kind of after they give these people a beat down, they kind of like tag up the walls to let people know that they were there and what they did. Concrete Jungle Zoo crew was here, you know what I'm saying? You say they just leave, or they leave their crew's initials with like, say, paw prints and then insect wings and stuff like that. So that's what they do. You know, say they're kind of the younger generation being inspired by the older generation, aka the Black Fist, and then just keeping continuing on the fight. You know, and oh, I actually gave the Black Fist an actual official partner outside of Amira because she's more of like the brains behind the operation, the coordinators. You know what I'm saying? She's good with her computer skills and whatnot, and like also like her police intelligence that she uses. You know, I gave him an actual partner, kind of like a Batman and Robin type of situation. He's called the Street Soldier, and he's a young kid. Lost both his parents. You say pretty much to the drug game. I believe his dad was a murder victim, some street kid. You know what I'm saying? Just it was a robbery gone bad. His mom fell into drugs and died because of that. He spent time in not only in foster care but also in juvie. You know, and so while being in juvenile detention, he heard about the exploits of the Black Fist and got very inspired by him. And once he got out, you say of juvenile detention, like he started kind of running the streets and practicing his fighting skills and wanting to be like the Black Fist and fight crime. And so I actually have a situation in there, a scene in there, I should say, where he actually does finally encounter meeting the Black Fist. And even though he's initially reluctant, Nyerere decides to take him under his wing and train him and teach him to be his partner. You know what I'm saying? And so it goes from there. And so I'm really proud of this particular book. Um, I wish I would get a little bit more feedback. I published it last year. Didn't really get very much feedback from people when it was released, which pisses me the fuck off. But what can you do? And it really opened the door for a lot of different things that I want to do, that I'm trying to do, especially with this book series. And um, I'm very happy with it, especially being able to add all these different characters. There's a lot of symbolism and metaphor that I use in this. Uh, Obviously, through the characters, both the good characters and the bad characters, of what it is that I believe, my ideology, my philosophy, what I believe politically, and a lot of things that actually can be done in the community. So I just really wish I could get a lot more feedback from this, and I really hope that this series takes off and has a life of its own. You know what I'm saying? Like cosplayers or graphic novels based on it. You say let it have a cult following. Like I would love to have a cult following of the Black Fist. You know, currently working on books 3 and 4. So those are still projects that I'm working on. I want to expand it. Obviously, I'm going to add a few more characters to it. You know, say other than the ones that I already have right now. And it's just like I'm hoping to take it to the next level. So I hope you enjoyed this particular episode of the Rough Draft. This book is available in paperback format, so you know where you can go to get it. You say go to Amazon, go to Barnes and Nobles, go to Books a Million. The book is also available in ebook format, so the typical places where you can go to get it, use Kindle, Nook, Kobo, iTunes, uh, Scribd, Playster, 24 Symbols, a few others. Um, if you're down with a library, you can Download the ebook for libraries through ebook distributors such as Overdrive, Hoopla, Baker and Taylor, and Biblioteca. So again, hopefully you enjoyed this particular video. If you're watching this on YouTube, like, please leave a comment. Please subscribe to the channel and share. You know what I'm saying? Let our brother know how you're feeling about the videos and everything like that. So thank you very much for watching this episode. I hope to catch you soon. Obviously, keep the fist raised. I'm always on my literary grind, and I'll catch you in the next episode. Peace.